What's going on, guys? It's Matt from Trendset, and today we are talking about webcams. With everyone in our office being locked down right now, we thought it would be a good time to buy 6 different webcams for the team. And before we give them out to our team members, we got to make sure that they're actually pretty decent. So what we're going to do today is open all 6 of those webcams up. We're going to compare them against each other. We're going to do kind of a lower light test and then a regular light test and see if any of them actually have decent video quality. And then on top of that, we're going to test the audio on all of them. I'm not holding my breath for their audio to be any good at all, but we could be pleasantly surprised today, so we will have to see what these cameras have in store. First things first, let's jump straight into the unboxing and see what we got in this bag and what types of cameras we're going to be comparing. And just so you guys know, everything that we're talking about today will be linked in the description box down below. So every time we're talking about a camera, if there's a camera that you really like the look of or you really like the sound of, you can just click on those affiliate links down below and we get a tiny minuscule little kickback for it. But hey, makes it convenient for you guys. All right, guys, so let's jump straight into the unboxing of all 6 of these cameras and see what we're working with today. All right, let's go. All right, so camera number 1 we got here. This is pretty terrible packaging. I don't even know which one this is from my Amazon purchase, judging by this box, because it doesn't really tell you much. Let's open this guy up. It feels very, very light. I don't even know if if there's a camera in here or not, so we'll soon find out, but it feels like a whole lot of nothing. The USB cable is kind of where all the weight comes from. All right, so camera number 2 here is the Nexigo. The Nexigo looks pretty promising. The box is pretty quality. Definitely heftier than the first camera. Looking a little bit more quality. Has a swivel here, Nexigo on the front. And it looks like this has some sticky platforms here that you can attach to your computer if you want it to just live there. Otherwise, you probably can just kind of clamp this in place. So all in all, this one looks like just a regular generic webcam. Feels pretty decent. We'll see if the actual footage is any good. All right, so we're on to camera number 3. This guy here is called the, I don't know, I'll pull up the Amazon name here. The weird thing is, like, this box looks like 3 of the other cameras that I have, but they all have different brand names, but the boxes all look identical. All right, so again, same as all the rest. You have your privacy thing. This one, ooh, this one's got some chrome on it. Doesn't look too bad, to be honest. Good, decent heft to it. And again, you have kind of the locking mechanism to connect it to your computer. On to camera number 4. We got this guy here. This says that it's 4K, so we'll see if that's actually the case, which looks pretty much identical. It's a little bit wider, so we'll see if this actually has any better resolution to any of the other cameras here. I can't imagine it actually even being anywhere near to 4K, but that's what it says on Amazon, so let's try it out. All right, on to camera number 5. So this guy, again, like all the other ones, looks identical to the last 2, same kind of box. This lens actually looks bigger than any of the other lenses that we've seen on the webcams yet, but this is just, again, a 1080p one. All these ones have different names, but judging by the box and what it comes in, it's almost guaranteed that they're all from the same company. All right, so this is camera number 5 and potentially the best, most promising looking box out of all of Amazon purchases we made today. Tips for Windows 10 Skype. All right, you got a cleaning cloth in this one, so this is how you know we're moving up in the quality. This one definitely feels for sure the highest quality out of all of them. I think the most important part about this one is that you have the light, and apparently you can change how bright that light is by tapping here. Obviously it's not plugged in right now, so it's not going to do anything, but you have, I think, 4 different levels of brightness. My guess is this one's probably one of the higher quality. We'll see once we plug them all in. It definitely has the most heft to it. So the 6th and final webcam is this guy, the Razer, I don't know, Kiyo. It's Razer's broadcasting camera with illumination like the camera we just saw before it. So that one obviously is the exact replica of the Razer. So we thought it'd be pretty funny to get the Razer and compare it against its $60 brother half the price. We'll see if the footage is at all even close to what the Razers can do. Razer obviously being a well-known gaming company and one that makes peripherals for PC. So right off the hop, their box is beautiful. The presentation is way better than any of the other boxes that we've opened today. And then look at this, you have a beautiful kind of ring light camera, all protected with foam all over it. Instantly, I can tell that this one is probably going to be the best. The weight is probably 3 times, if not 4 times, any of the other cameras that we've opened up. Its way to swivel and the hinge that it lives on is really, really high quality and can kind of move in any direction. And then again, you have the tripod screw on the bottom like all the other ones. Those are the 6 cameras that we're going to be testing out. Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Matt from, as you can see here, the editing studio. One thing I forgot to do while I was shooting that footage was let you know when I was jumping from the unboxing footage into the actual test footage. So that's what I'm doing right now. Right after this, I'm going to jump into the test footage for you guys. I've tried to batch them all closely together in terms of how they compare visually to each other as well as price points. And then once we're done with all the footage there, we'll come back here and I'll let you guys know what I think about all of the cameras that we shot with and kind of my top 3 that I would go with for varying budgets and types of situations. So let's jump into that footage right now and see how we're doing. What's going on, guys? So this is the Brio 4K kind of replica, and as you can see, it's doing something really weird with its crop factor. It's really zoomed in. So quite frankly, from where all the other ones are, I have to push my laptop all the way to the back of my coffee table here. But I mean, once it's in place, the camera itself doesn't actually look that bad. I don't know how the mic is sounding, but from a straight visual perspective, this is actually not that bad of a webcam. It is having a little bit of a tough time with the highlights that are coming into my face, which is kind of weird because there's not actually that much light coming in from that window. The sun has already passed. But in a good light test, it's really not that bad of a camera. If I come back here, you know, it kind of calms down with the highlights. And for the $70 that you spend on it, it's not a bad webcam if you can get past that weird viewing angle. But frankly, like, I can't even touch my keyboard right now. I can't even touch my screen. It's probably about a foot away from me in order for me to get a proper headshot for the webcam viewing. So in that regard, I would say, like, I can't recommend it, because with regular use case, I mean, maybe if it was on top of a desktop PC, because you do naturally sit a little bit further back, and then you could kind of aim it down on you. With the laptop that I'm shooting with right now, it's not the best replacement camera. However, it's really not that bad at all. For 70 bucks, I would say it's quality-wise is close to the Razer, with a little bit less understanding of how to deal with the highlights. And the focal length of the Razer is far superior to the focal length of this guy. However, all in all, it's not that bad of a camera. For 70 bucks, if you really needed a webcam, I would say this is not a bad one. And this camera is actually the cheapest of all the cameras in our lineup. This guy comes in at about $23. And I mean, realistically, for the $23, right off the hop, it doesn't look that bad. Audio on it's probably going to be abysmal, but I would say all audio on all of these mics are probably not that good, and you should probably just use a headset. However, the actual image that's coming out of it is not that bad. There's a lot of like vignetting going on. You can kind of see in my couch there, it's kind of like swooping up when it should just be perfectly flat. So my whole kind of space behind me looks a little bit bigger, and it makes my head look bigger as I get closer, and then it kind of shrinks down to normal size when I'm back here. However, that's just kind of any kind of lens that is small. It's probably going to have some kind of vignetting. The white balance handling is actually not that bad. All the colors seem relatively true. There's a little bit more kind of green cast coming into the image, and there's still a lot of noise, at least when it's full screen. However, I don't think you'll have that big of an issue once you open it in Teams or Zoom or something like that, because it's going to squish it down, and then it should be pretty decent. I don't think it's better than the MacBook Pro webcam that I have on my 2015. However, it's probably better than a lot of cheaper PCs and some Dells that have kind of the webcam down in the corner. So for that, if that's what you want to replace it for, then it's not bad. However, it's not the greatest mic ever or the greatest video ever, but for 25 bucks, I think it probably is as good as any of the other webcams that we've videoed today. Is the Suyee 1080p webcam. It easily is the worst feeling webcam out of all of them. It feels like absolutely nothing is inside of the webcam itself. And quite honestly, the image that's coming out of this thing is abysmal. I can't imagine the audio being any good at all. But for the $50 that they're charging for this one, I would say that the camera that we just filmed before, the $25 Avater or whatever it is a way better buy for $25 less than what this guy is going for. None of the colors are accurate. My face looks kind of pink. My background is, my wall almost looks green in one side over here, and then looks grayish kind of sort of over here. My shirt looks not brown. I don't know. Everything about this webcam is bad. I wouldn't recommend it for the 50 bucks. There's definitely better $50 buys in our bundle that I would recommend over this one. We have the Nexigo 1080p video camera again. This guy's about $50 Canadian on Amazon and had about 2,005-ish star reviews. However, looking at it, or at least recording it right now, there's an incredibly bad delay in what I'm saying and what's actually being put onto the screen. Now, I don't know if this is going to come across the same way when doing something like Teams, but when I'm recording this onto my Mac right now via QuickTime, it definitely has a lag of probably about at least a whole second's delay before I can see what I'm doing coming onto the screen. So it's pretty bad in that regard. Color wise, it actually is not that bad. As you can kind of see, my couch is good to go. The brown is a little bit too green, and the green in my shadows there next to my little hanging plant is pretty bad. Feel to it is cheap and not really that great. However, there's not a lot of noise like there was in some of the other ones, and the color's not atrocious. The biggest thing is that delay, and if that delay is real, which I think it is, then this camera is an absolute bust in that regard, because this is so frustrating to look at. Yeah, it's about a $38 camera, I think is what we paid for Canadian, and it was a relatively high rated camera. All in all, just looking at the image in the regular daylight, it's not actually that bad at all. It's handling white balance pretty well. It's handling what was harsh for some cameras in my highlights on my face pretty well, and it's not doing too much distorting to the image around it. There's a little bit of noise I can see in the corners, but I think you're going to get that with every camera that we've tested, just because the sensor is so small that you're always going to have a little bit of noise, but you're going to be watching it on a little square on Zoom or Teams or something like that anyways. Again, audio I probably wouldn't recommend on any of them. Just use a mic. But all in all, this one's actually pretty decent for a $40-ish webcam. If you don't have a webcam like on your desktop and you needed one, I wouldn't hesitate to use this one. There's no delay like there was in the other $50 one. And the color, to be honest, doesn't look that bad, at least in a well-lit area. Once we take this to the low light tests, that will be a real kind of determining factor on whether or not this camera is any good. But for regular daylight, or if you're in a sunnier room, I think you can probably get away with this $40 one for your desktop, no problem. If your laptop already has a camera like my 2015 Mac does, I would say that the 2015 Mac webcam is on par or the same to this one. However, if you're looking for something to put onto a desktop as a webcam, this one's it's not bad for 40 bucks. I would say, you know, it's kind of middle of the pack. I'd rate it probably number 3 out of the 6 that we've reviewed so far. So not bad for 40 bucks. Could recommend. This is, as you can probably guess by the change in quality, this is the Razer Kiyo. So this is the most expensive webcam out of all of our webcams that we have. And to be honest, this one probably is the best. Right now, this is just kind of the standard light test. We are in just my living room with a big bright window there, and all the settings are just set to auto. As you can see, the autofocus does come in and out every now and then. The cool thing about the Kiyo is it comes with all of its own Razer software, so you're actually able to go in there and tweak your white balance or change it to manual focus if you don't want it to hunt. So there's a lot of customizability with the Razer Kiyo that none of the other cameras really have, because none of the other cameras have software that go along with it. And because it's Razer and it's a reputable brand, it's something that's consistently updated and always changing. So all in all, I think this is probably the winner in my eyes in terms of webcam quality. Another added benefit of the Razer is when you are in low light, you do have, as I can just spin here, there's a ring light attached to the webcam itself. So if you're in a lower light situation, you can kind of turn up the light. As you can kind of see here by the little bit of reflection you can see on my hand, the ring light is now on, and you can see it kind of balanced itself out to deal with kind of the change in light. All in all, I think the Razer is probably the best all around and for really any situation, because it also has the light attached to it. So let me know what you guys think about the Razer. And so for the last and final webcam, we got the Angetube 1080p, and quite frankly, it seems to be handling colors like the brown and the gray in my couch and kind of this taupey color in my shirt. The best probably out of all of them except for the Razer. However, just like the Razer, which this is pretty much a direct clone of, it's having a pretty tough time with the highlights right now, and there's not like there has been any real increase in highlights coming into that window. However, the field of view that this camera provides, kind of this almost 180 I would say, is actually really nice, and there's very little vignetting going on and not a whole lot of noise. So as you can see, my couch is still pretty level, and if I come closer here, its autofocus is actually surprisingly good. You get a lot of detail, as you can see in my beard there, and it's doing a good job keeping up with me. When you do move or if something comes into frame, it does like kind of pull focus to that thing and then comes right back. It's actually pretty quick autofocus for a $65-ish webcam. For the price being that it's, I think we paid $80, it looks like it's on sale for $60. It is a pretty decent webcam. However, in this current daylight setting, I think this is a really, really bad showcase for this camera. It's not handling its highlights at all very well. And I don't know if it's just because it's being recorded into QuickTime, or if once it's in Teams or something like that, it's going to look any better. However, right now, I can't recommend it to someone, because if you were trying to be professional and you came in with this webcam that made you look like a ghost, I wouldn't hire you for anything, which is unfortunate, because I think if it could handle the highlights, it definitely would be one of the best value webcams that we would have reviewed today. That being said, once we take this into the low light tests, I think the light on top will help it immensely. And just for reference, this is what the 2015 MacBook Pro built-in webcam looks like in our current low light test. So with this, we will compare it against something like the Kiyo and the Angetube streaming cam, because both those guys have halo lights in. Because both those guys have halo lights built in, and we want to see how they compare against each other. And just for comparison's sake, because realistically I don't think any of the other cameras can compete with the low light that we're currently seeing right now, this is the fake Brio comparing to the Razer and the Angetube stream cam. Quite frankly, anything that doesn't have the built-in halo light can't be used in this kind of really low light setting. So I'm not going to bother doing the rest of them, because realistically, if it doesn't have a halo light, you can't be shooting in this low of light. You're going to need some kind of external light or a lamp put on you, because as you can see, it's just too dark, too much noise, and you can't really make out my face. So this is the low light test of the Razer Kiyo. I have only one singular light on. You can kind of see it in the background right there, and it's producing a kind of shine on the roof there. So in really, really low light, the Kiyo can shine because it has the built-in light. So as you can see here, I can spin this guy and make it real bright. And then this way, regardless of when you're taking your meeting or kind of when or what you want to do with the camera, this just makes the Kiyo a little bit more versatile. So if you're having kind of a late night meeting and you don't want to turn on all the lights in your house, or for some reason you just don't have lights, because the built-in ring light really can save you from buying one extra accessory. I know with a lot of these cameras, if you have a ring light on top of the or near the camera, it does produce a nice light on your face. However, with the Razer, as well as you'll see the fake Razer that we have, you have the lights built in. It's really convenient, and it really allows you to take webcam videos whenever you need to. As you can see, this is what the Angetube stream cam looks like without any of the ring lights on the front. As you can see, it's got a real orange glow because that light behind me is a little bit of an orange hue to it. But if we just kind of touch on the light there, you can kind of see that's level 1 brightness and level 2 brightness right there. I'm actually getting really good color, and it's actually quite focused on me. The clarity that's on my beard and kind of in my face is still pretty good, and this is only in the second light, and it's kind of really evened out that tone between the orange light behind me and kind of the white light that's coming from the halo light. You really can just take your webcam videos whenever you want, and I mean, quality wise is actually really close to the Razer. I actually think this white balance is a little bit better than the Razer. Quality kind of closeness, I don't know if it's the exact same. I would say maybe the Razer takes it by the slightest edge in terms of quality, just because you were able to get in there and kind of tweak every piece. However, from a generic webcam standpoint, for $70, this I think is a really, really, really good webcam, and I definitely would recommend this one as one of the top winners for this kind of webcam test for its price range. And we're back. Alright guys, so thanks for sticking around if you're still here. I know this was a really long video. 7 cameras is a lot of cameras to go through, especially when you're trying to compare them all. So if you're still here, hit that like button, and we appreciate you being here. So for the final piece, I think we got to split this into 3 different categories. I think we do the best in low light, the best overall, and then the best kind of cheapo one. So for the best cheapo one, I think I'm going to give it to the, I think it was the Avater cheapest one that we had there. For the price, it was actually really good quality, and something that I could recommend to someone else if you didn't even have a webcam on your camera. It's not going to blow you out of the water, and people in your Zoom calls are definitely not going to be like, wow, this guy's webcam is good. But if you just need a webcam for the price, I think it's probably the best one here. Next, we're going to jump into the best low light. For the best low light, I actually think I'm going to give it to the fake Razer instead of the Razer. I know in the video I was talking about how much I liked the Razer. However, the Razer involves a lot of extra kind of tinkering and playing around with Synapse. You need to download Razer's secondary app, and you need to kind of make profiles in there that actually suit your needs. And if Synapse isn't working like it was in our low light test here, then you're not going to get all of those profiles to come to life, which is actually kind of frustrating. And if you're not a very techie person, it's not something that I could recommend. But if you need a camera for low light, or you wanted one for streaming, I'd recommend the Angetube. For the price, it's half the price of the Razer, but not half of the quality. It's actually pretty decent. And then lastly, for the best overall, I do have to give it to the Razer Kiyo. Once you go into those kind of features of Synapse and really get into the nitty gritty of all of the kind of white balance and focus and all of those things, it really is the crispest looking of them, and you still have that ring light that's built into it. So if you need that extra bit of light, you have it right there on the camera, kind of at a moment's notice. Those are my top 3 picks. I hope this video helped you guys make an informed decision on all of the webcams that are on Amazon. And I know I was talking about prices in this video, but know that kind of everything on Amazon is shifting up and down. So what I said might have been 60, maybe 80, or maybe 40 now. So really keep an eye out for the pricing, because it can change. Thanks again for tuning into today's episode, guys. It was a long one, so appreciate you still being here. Have a good one. Peace.